Hi, I'm Maame Blue. I am a writer. I am the author of the novel Bad Love, which was published in June 2020 by Jacaranda Books as part of their 20 and 20 initiative to publish 20 Black British writers in 2020. And I was one of them. I write about relationships, the past, how we connect to those things, and the impact that people have on each other and the kind of people we become.
My name is Mykaela Saunders. I'm a Koori Lebanese writer, teacher, and community researcher. I write a lot of different things. I'm very new to writing. I've only began writing fiction and poetry a few years ago, but I'm just trying my hand at everything, and I really love speculative fiction. I love thinking about our futures, our possible futures, and I'm writing a short story collection at the moment that all of the stories are set in my community, the Tweed Guru community in the Tweed, but each story is set in a different version of the future. But every story explores different kinds of our sovereignty and our survivance.
So we have each written a letter to our past or future selves. I'm going to read Mykaela's letter and then she's going to read mine. I guess I will start. Okay. Dear future Mykaela, I've been asked to write a letter to you, asking you, who are we now? But this isn't something I ever want to know for myself. I've never been keen on knowing my future, maybe because I've watched too many sci-fi horror movies that deal with time travel, causation loops, and the tyranny of fate. So I do not want you to tell me any personal news from the future, because that means I'll spend all my attention on the lookout for clues, and that'll stop me enjoying my life in the meantime. But still, I have to ask you, who are we now? And I'm not asking about myself. I'm asking about us as a people. There's a big part of me that doesn't want to know the future for the reasons I've just touched on. But there's another part of me that needs to know that the news is good. This other hopeful part wants to know that corporations and their neoliberal enablers have been stopped from ruining our countries, and indeed our entire planet. But can you tell me that in all honesty? Because I want you to tell me that. I need you to tell me that. Because what if these corporations aren't forced to a halt? I just don't know how I could live with knowing that. I don't know what I could hold that I could hold that knowledge in my body and still look our young ones in the eyes. In 2014, in her lecture at Southern Illinois University, Angela Davis said that you have to act as if it were possible to radically transform the world, and you have to do it all the time. And God only knows how I could live if I knew that it wasn't possible. My first impulse is to ask you to not tell me anything about how it goes either way, because if I only ask you to tell me the good news but hold off on the bad, then I'll know it's all bad news if you don't tell me anything. And how could I find any joy in life then? How could I carry myself through life knowing nothing I do is good enough? So instead, I'm asking you to tell me the good news, whether it's true or not. This is the only way I can proceed, by knowing if a well-loved planet and people is possible. Here are some things I want you to tell me. That the fossil fuel conglomerates have either grown some ethics or else died of starvation, and that all their workers have safe and stable jobs in cleaner energy. That our rivers are no longer bled dry, but left to fill and swim back into their ancient memories. That our oceans are clean again and teeming with all kinds of life. That we'll release the stranglehold of the prison industrial complex and the welfare to prison pipeline, abolish all other carceral cultures, and inject all those billions into our health, art, education, culture, leisure, and especially pleasure. That our laws and art and stories are valued by all communities, not just commodified and entombed by a handful of rich gatekeepers. That the tired mentality of asking top-down governance to save us is dead, and that grassroots community care is what heals us. I need to know that they are leaving our children the fuck alone. And I need to know that our children will be growing up in a world knowing their rich histories and not having to worry about whether they'll have a future or not. So when you write back to me, make sure you tell me all this good news, and tell me more good things too, if you want. But make sure you tell me whether you mean it or not, because true God, absolutely everything depends on it. Yours in all sincerity, Mykaela, Gaga Balingu, 2021.
Lovely. It's nice. It's a real trip hearing your own words spoken back to you.
It's an amazing letter. So just thank you for letting me read it.
Thank you, thank you. I can't. I'm about to read Mame's beautiful letter. It's funny, and maybe we can talk about this afterwards. But I was struck by the kind of tone and the subject of your letter and how it matches up with what you were just talking about, that you're interested in writing. About kind of relationships and feeling and the past. So anyway, let me read your letter. So, subject, magnificent. Dear Mame, I can't believe it's been 10 years. How are you? I hope you are magnificent. I hope you are not just okay. Not still waking up in the middle of the night to the sound of the milkman leaving glass bottles that remind you of a childhood you're still trying to forget. Not still sleeping restlessly, your to-do list long, laborious and inconsequential in the grand scheme of things. I hope so much more for you than this time, here, now. I hope you still have that love you found 2 years before this letter, that your heart still explodes when they enter the room and closes in a little way when they leave, that your futures have become like intertwined vines that keep you safe, held and feeling altogether part of something bigger. And I hope the world acknowledges it, your love. It is not the same kind you grew up with, not the same as the romantic movies that you would wish after as a child, that you then tried to replicate as you got older, with suitors too straight for your squiggly edges. I hope it's still the slow simmering, deliciously real kind of love, the sharing soup on a winter's day kind of love, the let me do the washing up tonight and don't worry about what anyone else thinks kind of love. I hope it keeps you feeling magnificent. I still have hope for the world somehow. I really hope you do too, and that it is generally kinder. But I think we always hoped for that, didn't we? So, perhaps a decade later, you can walk through white spaces without feeling as though you cast a long dark shadow. Or maybe there are no longer white spaces, just places where people can go and be themselves. Perhaps you've created that space for yourself and your fellow outsiders to feel warm again on the inside. I really hope so. Because I've begun to understand that our legacies are what we leave with other people. I hope you've been building on what we started, that you've been using your gift with words to tell the truth. God, I hope you're still telling the truth, that you haven't left any of yourself behind. You are the best you when you're speaking, thinking, writing the real things, even when it's difficult and it hurts and you worry that no one else will understand. I hope you found a way to reach towards sincerity, to communicate with candor, and to write a gospel of emotions in their full range that bring about praise and the adoration of the truth. I hope you always strive for magnificence. And most of all, I hope you have happiness. It is fleeting, I know. It comes and goes with the wind, a mood swing, or even the change of an outfit. But every now and again, I hope that it arrives in the in-between times, in the tiny moments, and especially the big ones. I hope you can still know when to grasp it, when to pass it on, when to stop looking for it so that you can find yourself again. Let it be a balm, not the ultimate solution, but do let it be. I hope you take my words as they are intended, that they don't feel like a to-do list, but merely a statement of facts about where you are now, 10 years from me. Because you are magnificent. I want you to remember that, always. Love, Mame. How beautiful.
Thank you. Yeah, right. It's very strange hearing your own words back.
Right?
Yes. It's like
Showing a
someone's holding a
different
mirror
accent.
and look at it.
Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
it's nice though. I really enjoyed your letter because when I guess I don't know about you, but when I was given this assignment, my thought went to the past, it went to the future. I thought, oh, how am I going to approach this? And I just started writing and it came out. And um I guess you were thinking in similar ways to me. You kind of wanted to talk to someone in the future.
And I think actually I definitely had the same thought process, but I think and I also struggled quite a lot to get started because given the current circumstances, I have found it quite difficult to look ahead because it's like, what is ahead? I don't know. Like, it feels more uncertain than ever before. And I was going to just write to my past because I'm so used to doing that. And I just kind of, I felt like I had to stop myself. I like, I want to be a bit hopeful, uh, and let me write forward. And it took me a while to get started, but then when I did, it just kind of flowed out. And I feel like I got a strong that from yours. Like, it feels very hopeful, but in like a vaster kind of way, like very, you want the world to just be okay. That's the sense I got from it. And it felt like, yes, it just felt so big. Yeah. And I guess I wondered do you feel like that's how you always think about things, like in a kind of more of a world kind of way, because I feel like mine was very personal, quite introspective, I think, and yours was just like looking out into the world and this kind of vastness, which I really liked.
Mm-mm. Yeah, no, you're right. And I think before I answer that question, I don't think the two ways of looking out or in are too different because, like, we're part of the world and we've got a whole world inside of us too, you know. But yes, I do tend to think big. I grew up in a very staunch Guru community, and that means a lot of relationships and responsibilities within those relationships. And so always thinking kind of intergenerationally, thinking, back towards our ancestors, but also towards our future as well, and what the world will be like. And I also just don't really like talking about myself.
Fair enough. You are a writer after all.
I'd rather write of other people.
Yeah, exactly. I get that.
I
um,
love
yeah,
something that I think really connects our pieces is when you say our legacies are what we leave with other people. That just made me go, yes, that's it. What do you hope your legacies will be in and out of writing?
in and out. Oh gosh. I think in and out of writing, I think I always hope on some level that I have made somebody feel something, even if it is. I mean, not that I obviously I don't want it to be bad, but even in writing in my work, if I've made you if I've made you angry or I've made you feel seen, I'm happy about either one because I feel like, oh, okay, it's had an impact. And I think, I guess, in contrast to kind of what you were saying about your kind of experience of this, of thinking kind of intergenerational, multi generational, like my family life, my family history is kind of not the opposite, but it's not supposed to be introspective, but there's so many things I don't know about kind of my generation. Like, I'm Ghanaian by heritage, and there are so many kind of missing pieces almost. And I think a lot of the things I'm always striving for in my writing is in some way trying to fill that the gaps of the things that I don't know about my history. And then the bits of pieces that I've learned have kind of added to who I am now. And so I think, yeah, so I think my hope is always to add to people's lives in some way. Like, I hope that, when I go to the great beyond, um, I leave something at least good or, like I said, true behind with other people. I think on some base level that matters to me because maybe that was lacking for me, I would say, if that
Yeah,
makes
I hear
sense.
you.
Yeah. And
I
I really liked your, um, I don't know, it was just so, even though you were talking about these really big things, it still felt personal. Like it's still, your letter still felt very much like this is kind of important to your core kind of thing. But I really liked the quote you put in from Angela Davis, but you have to act as if it were possible to radically transform the world, and you have to do it all the time. Which I've been thinking about that a lot. It feels like it feels tiring, but also you persevere, and I wonder how do you balance those things in your everyday life, if you do at all? Um, yeah.
Well, writing helps, reading helps, engaging with people who live that way helps, because, sometimes we have people around us, whether it's family or friends, who maybe don't think that it is possible, and that can kind of get us down, or social media or whatever. You just have to turn on the news or scroll your news feed to lose hope and feel despair. And I think despair is a really useless thing. I don't mind being angry. I don't mind having rage, but despair, I think there's a giving up there. So I try to read and write works that do imagine radically different futures where everybody is welcome and seen and loved. I'm not talking about like saccharine sweet utopias, because we know that for a utopia to exist, there has to be a dystopia somewhere on the same planet. That's happening now. But I try to read the words of inspiring writers and thinkers, and I also try to emulate them with my own work, because I see myself as a writer and a community person, as not just like a discrete entity, but as part of a lineage, a part of a community, even part of a community with people who aren't even born yet. So I have a responsibility to try to leave some kind of legacy that, maybe someone will pick up my book one day and think that looks like a cool way to live, and maybe start trying to build that into their own life. And that would be really cool to me. That's a cool legacy.
I love that. I love that kind of the idea of stories becoming like mini like rules to live by. Like I feel like that's what I've definitely taken from the books that I've loved. Yeah, like it's like, oh, maybe I want to be a bit more like this character, or I want to. It's made me think differently about who I am and what I do next. I think that's always such a powerful thing. Yeah, kind of about literature. That feels so hopeful. It's just, yeah, it's really nice.
Same,
Yeah.
and even if it's false hope, I don't care. It feels good.
Whatever way, I fake it till you make it. Come on, that's
Yeah, fake it till you
well,
make it.
yeah.
Well, I had another question. I so you wrote this letter to yourself 10 years from now. I hope you're still in love. I hope you're still enjoying that too. I hope all those beautiful things come true. What about 20 years from now, 30 years from now? Where do you see yourself, or where do you want to be?
Lord. That's a good question. I think I want all my people to be okay, and I guess, taken care of. I want to still care, I think, about the world, even if I feel a little bit like I can't do everything. I can't change the world on my own, but I still want to be hopeful about it. I hope to never get to that point, like you talked about, kind of despair, or like even like apathy, which I think is so easy to get to, especially these days. Um, I hope I still care, and I hope I'm still kind of paying it forward in whatever way I can do that. And I don't even though I wrote it in the letter, I don't even like massively hope for happiness, because I do think it is fleeting. But but I hope that I have been able to write as many stories as I possibly can in that time. I hope I never stop doing that. What about you?
Yeah, more or less the same, you know. I hope I'm still writing. If I'm not writing, at least painting. And if not painting, gardening, whatever. Just being human, being creative. I don't know what the world's going to look like. Um, and in fact, even if I think about what the future looks like, I realize that there's so many different futures, even in the one timeline, just as we have so many different histories and pasts and versions of the past. So I guess whatever future I end up in will depend on a lot of things, whether or not I have a job, whether I have money, where I live, all those kinds of things that affect our experiences now too. Um, but I'm getting a bit too out there and deep, so I hope to, I hope to be surrounded by family, friends, community, writing, reading, talking to people, sharing ideas with people like yourself, because this has been really lovely. Mm.
Yeah, same. I agree. I could just keep talking to you, but I feel like we're about to run out of time. So
Yeah, I reckon. You probably need to.
I know I need breakfast very early. Yeah, I think that's it. Yeah, I guess I'll just say thank you, Mykaela. Thank you so much. This has been, yeah, a really lovely conversation. Hopefully we can speak again without the camera.
Yeah,
Yeah.
when you come over. Yes, thank you, Mame. Very lovely. I didn't expect to feel so, joyous and connected through a screen. I stare at my screen all day, every day, and this was actually one of the most, humanizing and real things that, yeah, thank you.
I would 100% agree. Thank you.